We're good to go then. So you already know who I am, Larry, but
Right, yeah.
for the reference for the people who are going to watch in the recording, my name is Marissa Jacobs, and I run an organization called the Art of Ecology, whose main focus is blending the arts and the sciences to help build a deeper understanding of the natural world. And I do that through programs like this, through many workshops and classes, as well as through just general art sales. Um, all of June is National Get Outdoors Month. So for the month of June, you can take 15% off any of the botanical t-shirts that I make, that hand dyed and hand block printed, as well as participate in a mystery $5 photo sale that is all natural photos of the landscape, of the environment, wildlife, all sorts of cool things like that, as well as participate in-person classes now, as well as if you're not local or you're not comfortable with in-person classes yet, I do have downloadable and virtual classes like this as well. But the presentation part. So the overview of what we're going to be talking about and looking at tonight is, first off, trying to understand how the living conditions of many people in Kenya, what that is like for them, and understanding the challenges that they face due to those living conditions. So we're going to do that by exploring both rural Kenya and then heading into the Kibera slums that are located in the capital of Nairobi. And with a city or a capital, you have challenges there as well. And then we're going to learn about some organizations that are trying to make these living conditions a little bit better, and how they are making an impact, and how we can take action to support others globally. So first off, why should we care? I have heard on numerous occasions of, we are Americans, we should be caring about Americans. There's people starving here too, which is absolutely true. There's nothing wrong with helping the people in our own local communities, but there's also nothing wrong with being a global citizen. We are part of a world that is so interconnected, and what happens here impacts literally everywhere else on the planet. So being a globally minded citizen is always a good idea, on top of caring for those in our own communities as well. Going to Kenya and going to all of the places that I've had the opportunity to travel to helps me to understand that connection that we have and how I can impact their lives. And for example, this photo of this little boy was taken in the streets of the Kibera slums. You can see the slum buildings in the background, the homes. His mother spent probably a minute, 2 minutes trying to call out to me. She saw that I had a camera. And when I turned around, she looked a little angry, and I kind of thought that she was going to be upset with me that I took pictures, when really she was upset that I didn't take a picture of her child. And she viewed me as this Muzungo, who is the white woman, the white girl. And I have a voice that might be stronger than hers. So I was able to photograph her child and photograph her community to be able to then share with other people here in America and help educate people about what is going on in other parts of the world. I took a course with National Geographic. It was their photography as a storytelling device. And one of the quotes that really stuck with me during that course was that a good photo elicits empathy, and empathy is the root of change. So throughout the rest of this presentation, whether I'm getting you to feel empathy for these people in a way of, wow, I am so privileged, I have all these things, and now I view the world in a different way, or in places where there is joy to be found, even in the Kibera slums, of rejoicing with them and feeling that joy along with them. Just throughout the presentation, I really hope to convey the emotion that will help drive the rest of your actions, whether you're saying, I'm going to take action for them, or I now have a new perspective and will go about life in a way now that I have this perspective. We will start with rural Kenya. So this here is a photo of a typical luncheon. The mushy white stuff, that is ugali. That is at every single meal. It's a corn base. It's kind of just like cornmeal pudding. There is sauteed kale and nightshade. Not deadly nightshade, not poisonous nightshade. It's a cool Kenyan variety that I wish we had here. And chicken. This is a very common food in Kenya. And ugali is eaten with every meal, to the point that if you have a full meal but you have not had ugali, you have not eaten yet. So seeing the typical diet in Kenya is very interesting to learn about, kind of how they rely on their food staples of the maize or of chicken. And access to steady food sources is a huge challenge. Food security is a big deal. And on top of having some agricultural issues of drought versus rainy season, and how do you plan your farming around all of that, trying to make sure that you have a steady supply of food is definitely a challenge. Teen pregnancy is another big issue. Across the board in Kenya and extending into much of Africa, HIV and AIDS is a huge problem. And when the average age is going to be older teen in Kenya, due to disease, starvation, numerous issues, teen pregnancy that happens most of the time causes people to have larger families that are usually less healthy, and therefore the children do not survive. So teen pregnancy is definitely an issue. Access to clean water is an issue as well. In this photo here, this man, who's in the Maasai tribe, and he was caring for us, he wanted to show me his water tower. He knew that I was an ecologist, and so he brought me over to learn more about how the Maasai people have adapted and found ways to harvest water. You will see in a bunch more of the photos these black kind of big water buckets. They are huge rain barrels, pretty much, that harvest the rainwater. So in the back you see their DIY water tower, and in the front you see this chimney structure. This man, Saremba, he opened the little door that was at the bottom. You can see the little handle, and that's where he lights a fire in the morning. The fires will heat that chimney up, and at the back of the chimney you see a little pipe that connects the chimney to the metal basins that hold some of the rainwater. That heats the water up and then supplies it to the people if there is a shower or a hand washing place available. So this here is ingenuity. This was built by the people. It's not this corporation. It's not factory built. So this was also the only water heater that I saw the entire time, and I've been to Kenya multiple times. Access to education is also a concern. In many parts of Kenya, a child is not able to go to school if they do not have shoes. So for families that are impoverished to be limited in their access to education that will help them in future careers to be community leaders is dependent on if they can afford shoes or not. So a lot of children are not able to go to school in these rural areas. And many children, especially in tribes like the Maasai that are more nomadic, being at a place for long enough to go to school can be an issue. So some communities within the Maasai people will be nomads in an area that kind of surrounds a radius around one school building so that their children can still attend school at least for a time. And another issue is rampant disease. On top of the issues with the HIV and AIDS, there's also lots of issues with malaria, especially in these rural communities where there's lots of stagnant bodies of water, whether it's a pond or a stream, or just, you know, you look out into your backyard and you see that there's a place where water pools when it rains. They have lots of those places. So as the mosquitoes breed there and spread disease, there's a lot of the insect and mosquito-borne illness. So who is helping the people in these rural areas of Kenya? One of them is called FMI. This is who brought me out to Kenya this past time. I was a staff photographer for one of their programs, and they are a faith-based organization, but they do more than just faith-based education. Ultimately, they build partnerships that ultimately empower these church planters. Churches are everywhere in Kenya. You can look as you're driving down the side of the road and there's a church on this side. Then a minute later, there's another church. You drive 2 more minutes, another church. And these are all places that are known for their community leaders. So FMI helps to host leadership seminars and will also provide funding and support for these community leaders. So they are going into Kenya and teaching the teachers. They're saying, we realize that you are all important people in your communities, in your neighborhoods. You have a great ability to empower others. So let's provide you with training to empower you, to educate you, to teach you how to teach, and then give you support and resources so that you can make the biggest impact possible. So this photo was taken in a conference hall during one of these seminars. And ultimately, these community leaders, they are church planters. So again, there is that element of the faith-based organization. However, they, again, as community leaders, are going to really make an impact on those that are around them. For example, this man, I have had many chances to talk with him, to have great conversation. And one of the programs that he's really trying to get started and use some of the funding and resources for is to do agriculture programs for children. They go out, they've planted mango trees, and it's been really cool to see in previous times, see pictures of the saplings that were planted, and then to go and see these huge mango trees that are 4 times the size of me now, and how he's teaching these not young children, but middle school to teenage, of teaching them how to plant and care for the trees, how to maintain them, farming techniques. And this provides these kids with skills. They can now go and make money off of these skills when they are not kids anymore. This also provides them with some safety. Many of the young women in Kenya do not feel safe in their communities due to sexual harassment, sexual assault, which does often lead to the teen pregnancies. And so a program like this gives these children, not just women, but girls, boys, any gender, any age, a safe place to go. And it also provides them with food security. They're learning this skill, and in return, once they do all the farming, they have food that they can take home with them. Another organization is called SHOFCO, which stands for Shining Hope for Communities. Their whole goal is to transform their communities by providing critical services, whether they're advocacy, education, medical, all sorts of things, for mainly for girls and women, but ultimately for anyone who needs it. It was founded by a man who realized that his mother was doing so much work maintaining the household, maintaining her family, making sure everyone was well cared for. And yet she was not compensated for this hard work in the same way that a man would be compensated for his hard work. And so this organization was started to help equalize gender. In turn, once that gender gap was bridged, it would increase financial stability, reduce teen pregnancy, and provide much needed aid to these women who were managing their families. They focus on three main things of quality health care, sustainable livelihoods, which do a lot of adult education instead of children's education, and they also do schools for girls, as well as clean water provision through a program called WASH, which is water and sanitation hygiene. Their motive for this is seeing that once people worry less about getting sick or getting clean water, having access to clean, sanitized water, they can focus on their futures. When most people are living hand to mouth, they are saying that I need to find food for today so that I can survive. I need to not get sick today so that I can survive. I need to find water and fill up my bucket today so that I can survive. Once they have all of those needs provided for, they can look ahead to the future to say, how can I be a valued member of my community? How can I invest wisely, have a budget so that I can help my family to thrive? That was rural Kenya. We're going to move into the slums of Kibera. And many challenges are overall the same type of challenges. It's just portrayed a little differently, being in more of a city environment than a rural environment. One of the challenges being, again, access to quality education. Most people cannot afford to send their children to schools again, but now the implications seem to be a lot greater in the sense that there are quality schools in the area. It's just a matter of making sure that you can get your child into that school. Access to clean water and quality healthcare is a huge issue. This boy here, I was in a river ravine, so down at the base of the river, and I'm watching these kids running up and down the bank of this river. The bank is covered in all sorts of debris. The river is muddy on top of all sorts of other things that are going on in that river. And I see them with these yellow water collection buckets collecting water out of this river. And this is just a normal part of their life. This is the water that they're drinking. It's not getting filtered. It's not getting sanitized. And this water is going to be cooking, drinking, and washing. Causes a lot of health issues. So the access to clean water goes hand in hand with access to healthcare. Again, teen pregnancy is still an issue. However, when I was in Kibera, a lot of the organizations also focused heavily on menstrual hygiene for the girls and understanding that if girls do not have the proper access to sanitary pads or things like that, they will not be able to go to school And if they miss school, they won't be able to have access to that quality education anymore. Having marketable skills is a struggle for many people. Without that education, they don't have things that they know how to do to provide for the community and giving financial support. The reason I used this picture for this slide is because, yeah, you see these teens who we wouldn't think of as being in work anyway, but in the background you see a lot of people just milling around. You've got these teens playing soccer in the street here, but then there's people in the back just hanging out. Many people don't have jobs. They don't have anywhere necessarily that they have to be throughout the day, other than trying to find food to eat, trying to find things for their family. So who's helping here? Again, we've got SHOFCO. They are a really pivotal piece of help here in the Kibera slums. And going back with their three main goals of providing education to both children and adults, healthcare, water, we're going to start here with education. They realize that a huge key to increasing financial stability and therefore just quality of life for these people is having access to education. And the healthcare goes along with education. The food goes along with education. Everything funnels down to this. So there are girls that are admitted to this specialized school. SHOFCO has a school specifically for young girls, and it is a very prestigious school. So a lot of people want to get their daughters into this school. They are admitted for free. Education is completely provided for them. Uniforms, books, everything is provided for them, but it's on an as-needed basis. So how they operate is SHOFCO will take a look at all the girls who want to go to school there, and they'll do a home visit. They'll say, hi, we're going to come visit, see how poor are you? And maybe you're actually doing better than the other person, and we only have so many spaces available. So they really try to analyze the family situation. This causes some problems, though, because everyone really understands how important having a quality education is. So they might take their TV, which is a luxury item, they might unplug it and stick it in a neighbor's house so that when the education staff arrives, oh, you don't have a TV. Okay, all right, this, check that off. And then the education team leaves and they bring their TV back in. Then SHOFCO will do a surprise visit unannounced on a random day to see if that was the case, if people are hiding their numerous wealth, or are they actually, yes, we are this poor, we really, if we get into this school, this will really, really help our standard of living. So that's kind of how they'll analyze that. And then they'll admit the girl to the school, and she has this safe place to stay. She gets to study, and these are highly trained teachers, a prestigious curriculum. And eventually in high school and for university, these girls are often sent overseas to Europe or even here to America to finish their studies, which is something that many people there really want to do. They had a study done. One of their focuses that kind of falls in with this education piece for women and girls is sexual assault, sexual harassment hotline that people can call, and they will have safe houses for the girls and for boys as well who are sexually assaulted that can get them out of that bad environment into a safe area. But only 25% of girls feel as if they have a safe place to be in their communities. So getting girls out of this potentially dangerous environment and also having a quality education at the same time is really important. Once the girls have graduated, once the girls are done with their schooling, it is seen that they are going to invest 90% of what they earn back into their families. So they're not saying that, oh, now I have all this money. Great, I'm going to buy all the things for myself. My life is so grand. No, they're in turn saying, I'm going to use what I have learned and give back. They're also 3 times less likely to wind up with HIV or AIDS, and they are more likely to have fewer but healthier children, and those children are more likely to actually reach adulthood. SHOFCO also focuses on the clean water and that water sanitation and hygiene. This blue structure here is one of their wash kiosks. This is one of the 24 water kiosks that provide free, clean, filtered, sanitized water to the community there in Kibera. What happens is they distribute this little yellow kind of like key card sort of thing that people can go and they push it up against. You can see on the far side there's a metal panel, and in the middle of that is a white thing with a little hand and the circle like radar bars, and they put that little key card up against that and press the button for how much water they want. Then they put that yellow bucket underneath of that green spout that's there at the bottom, and it will give them with the clean water. While 9,500 people may not seem like a lot, it is so valuable to those people, because once you have these people who aren't having to worry about the disease that comes with unclean water, that have clean clothes to wear, that have cooked their food with clean water or washed their hands with clean water, they are more able to make an impact on their community. They're healthier to do that. They're in a better place to financially support their families and to provide education for others. The WASH program also provides hygiene education, because if you've never gone to school before, there's no reason for you to know about the importance of washing your hands with clean water. You haven't learned about germs and viruses and things like that. So without that education, there's a lot of disease that spreads very quickly. They have also supplied sanitary latrines, or these are kind of like public restrooms. So instead of having people just go to the bathroom in the street, in the river, they're now using these spaces that are designed for that. And finally, they provide lots of skills training to both men and women. The SUN, or the SHOFCO Urban Network, that focuses on empowerment and encouraging people to advocate for each other. So it's this collective action that when we speak up for each other, we can make a much bigger impact as a group. They also focus on financial classes. So to all these people now that are learning all these different skills, how should you be investing your money? How should you be budgeting? How should you be using that money wisely? So it's a lot of those types of classes for adults, as well as other types of more the skills. So we were there, we saw a sewing class where they were learning how to use the sewing machine and then how to ultimately become entrepreneurs. So you're going out to your community and now you're a seamstress, you're a tailor, you're able to make clothes for people. They had a beadwork class as well. And in Kenya, everyone has these beaded bracelets, men, women, everyone does. So with such a hot commodity, beadwork is an important skill to have. And then they have their healthcare department. They have a pharmacy and a clinic, both on their main site there in Kibera. And people will go, they will be able to get medicines, immunizations. They will get malaria tests. One of their pride is that they have been able to give out over 2,000 malaria tests and over 2,000 HIV and AIDS screenings to people, which without those screenings, without those tests, people could die very quickly from these diseases. So once you have these tests and you know how to treat it, you can recover from it and continue on providing for your family. They also work on family planning to be able to say, all right, once you are ready to have children, here's how to keep those children nice and healthy. Here's some preventative care for them. And here's how to help your family thrive. Another organization that is helping out, this is not in the Kibera slums, but instead outside the slum area in the Nairobi capital, is Kazuri Beads. And this Kazuri is small and beautiful, just like the people who work there. No one is too small, and everyone there is absolutely wonderful, beautiful people. But they make these small and beautiful beads. Kazuri is this bead retail and pottery. So you can go and buy jewelry, but their main purpose is to provide employment that's sustainable and permanent for disadvantaged members of society, specifically single mothers. So these are all handmade, beautiful, gorgeous pieces. And this is their pottery room where they're building more like plates, dishes, bowls, things like that, as opposed to the jewelry. These women now are provided with skills training, and now they have a stable source of income. And this factory and retail center provides stable jobs for over 340 women of the community who now don't have to worry about where their next meal is coming from. They export 60% of all of their pieces all over the world, which to me is really cool to see that I can support them even here when I'm in America. I don't have to go to Kenya to help these women out. If you know the name 10,000 Villages, that's a common more artisan retail place that has all handmade goods by people all over the world. And Kazuri Beads sends much of their pottery and their jewelry to be sold there. So if you ever go to a 10,000 Villages, see if you can find Kazuri Beads. But here in these photos this is their quote unquote factory setup. This woman here, her job for the day is stringing the beads. And you can go around to all these different tables and see the women shaping the beads, the women reaming, poking the holes in the beads, the women glazing them, firing them, stringing them, getting them all beautiful for the retail section. So it's very amazing, at least for me, to see a photo like this or to go there in person and to say, I know if I were to purchase this at 10,000 Villages, I know Esther, Susanna. I know these women that this is going for. I've heard their stories. I know their family. Well, I have not met their families, but I know what the family life is like. And finally, we have the nonprofit called Down to Talent Family. And their whole goal is to empower the kids of the community, which ultimately enhance the community when they are going out. They've gained confidence by the skills that they have learned. And when you are more confident, you are more able to use your voice to make a change. So they really focus on performing arts to help boost confidence. As someone who has a background in musical theater, I know that the confidence I had to learn to get up on stage is confidence that has helped me this very moment. This very moment doing speaking and feeling confident to do that. But it has also helped me in my interviews that I have done throughout my life to get a job. I know that it helps me with conflict resolution. I know that it has helped me to be able to stand up for others when I'm feeling a little scared of doing that. And if that's happening over here with me, that's absolutely happening in Kenya, where they're trying to get jobs and they need that confidence to land that interview and then be able to support their family. So through dancing and by learning acting, they're able to do that. They also work with the students, not just with performing arts, but also with computer literacy and providing menstrual hygiene as well for the girls in the organization to help keep them in schools if they are. So now I have a video that I was able to take of these kids dancing. It was amazing to watch. I don't have this much talent. These students are incredible. And this video, on top of watching them dance a little bit, it also talks a little bit more about the organization and a key phrase that really stuck with me. But you can see this photo is of their Down to Talent building. And I was up against that chalkboard that was here in this back. You can see the students are dancing in this open place, and then there's a chalkboard in the back. That's where I'm standing to take this photo. And this corrugated tin building is what they have. It's blazing hot. It bakes like an oven, especially in a place that's on the equator. And you can see all the kids in the back that are just pouring in because of the positive impact that Down to Talent is having on the people here. So I'm going to switch from this presentation to the video. Can you see the video?
Yes.
Okay, cool deal.
It's your time to learn dancing.
Strong.
Hey! See that doing it? Hey, blow. Why? Big. They dance with energy.
So that was these kids all dancing. And the thing that really stands out to me, the guy at the end that said, and because of that, and had them all clap. At the beginning, he was telling us these students, they cannot dance with that much energy and with that much confidence if they are hungry. Nobody can do that. If I'm hungry, I get really grumpy and I don't want to do anything. If they have poor mental health, they can't dance like that. If they don't have water and are therefore sick, you don't have the energy to dance like that. So through dancing, these kids are able to say, I am now motivated to make a difference in my life and in my community's lives because I have gained this love and this passion for dancing and for performing. So cool. We've got performing arts, we've got education, we've got empowerment, but what does that all have to do with the natural world and with the environment? First off, if you're going to reduce disease, you're going to be reducing single-use plastics. Kenya has already banned single-use plastic bags at grocery stores and things like that. It's all reusable now, which was great to see. That's an awesome start. But you can see this is the river everything, where the one photo of the boy with the yellow water drum is walking up out of. You can see how much debris, how much pollution and plastic is here in the water. That's going to be a haven for bacteria growth, mold growth, polluting the water that it's in. So once plastics are reduced, you're also going to be reducing disease. Food security is very, very dependent on sustainable farming and agriculture. I had the chance to visit a permaculture farm that was able to do workshops for people in the community, for other farmers to say, hey, we harvest honey from honeybees that pollinate the pines in this area. We do all of this gardening and this farming using permaculture practices. So their connection to the land helps to create a more stable food source for them. This is in the same place, the river everything. Right as I'm taking the picture in the river, this girl runs past me to get water in these little yellow drums, and you can see all the plastic around it. You can see that if she's going to be getting water from this area, it's going to be muddy. There's hoses that do carry water throughout the city that are just dripping, that she's collecting water from. But clean water is going to equal healthy habitats. And in an area where education is hard to come by, nobody is quite aware of the microorganisms and the macroinvertebrates that live in the water. But once these pollutants are removed, the single-use plastics are removed, and the biodiversity in the river returns, they will be able to have a healthier habitat overall because everything is so connected. Access to education means an increase in environmental stewards. This here is a giraffe conservation center that also does environmental education about general African wildlife. I'm biased. My favorite animal is the giraffe. So every time that I have been to Kenya, I've been here. That's a luxury. As a white tourist, I can almost do whatever I want. But this place's main focus is on educating the Kenyan youth. Tourists, they're just a great bonus. But they're trying to focus on changing the way Kenyan youth thinks about their connection to the land and the wildlife and how to be sustainable environmental stewards. But if you don't have access to education, if you can't get into school, you're not going to have access to these field trips that bring you to places like this. But this is a really important part of Kenyan curriculum is understanding how to live with the wildlife that just roam around. So once you have access to education, you are increasing people's views on sustainability and environmental practices. And finally, once you have marketable skills, you're going to have that less concern for yourself of how am I going to survive today? And you have more concern for your community's overall health and well-being. You're going to be able to advocate for the health of the habitat of the water because now you no longer care about your personal survival that day. You can now focus on cleaning up the river everything, cleaning up the streets in Kibera, getting rid of the single-use plastics, about eating healthy and having a balanced diet. So, as per usual, the art of ecology with literally everything, I always donate a portion of the proceeds back to some sort of habitat preservation or wildlife conservation. Because as an environmental education organization, I really want to not just teach people how to care about the environment, but also then support conservation efforts. So today the proceeds will be donated back to SHOFCO and specifically their clean water initiatives to make sure that the people of Kibera are going to have more access to clean water instead of just using these yellow drums to collect out of the river everything to then use in their pink and red buckets to wash their clothes or to cook. So I wanted to thank you for participating. Are there any questions? If not, that's okay.
Sure, I have questions.
I know that's a lot.
It was wonderful. I can't believe you put that together.
Oh,
How did you take the video of the dance? With your phone?
yes, that one was with my phone. I couldn't get my camera, like my actual camera set up
Yeah, yeah.
in time for that. It was very spur of the moment. They were talking to us about their mission and the importance of it, giving us a
Yeah.
rundown of what they do. And then all of a sudden they were like, all right, everyone get up and dance. And we were like,
Oh,
this is
God, it was
amazing.
wonderful. Yeah, it was really wonderful. And I've been to a lot of performing arts. My daughter was a music theater major, so
So you
I've been to
understand
thousands of performances. And what you said about what the performing arts do for you, building your confidence is true. It's true.
Yeah, it's
Wonderful.
very, very helpful. And then when you're thinking about, here we don't often think about the performing arts transferring over to life skills because that's not something we have to think about.
Yeah, I do, but more people should.
Yeah, more people should. But then to be in a place where if you get an interview, that is gonna make it or break it for you and make it or break it not just for you but for your family.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and then to be able to go in with confidence is so valuable. So it was really amazing to see something a little more out of the box. They did focus on providing those kids with clean water and food, things like that. But it was the first place that I had seen that was based around art.
Yeah,
really cool.
That was exciting. I did have a question about. I was a little confused. What's the relationship between the 10,000 villages and Kazura? Is it the same or different?
They are different. So 10,000 Villages is a retail shop that sells artisan pieces from around the world.
Yeah, that was
Kazuri
nice.
will supply them with the pieces to sell.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So Kazuri is, they have their own shop, their own retail location, but then they'll do a lot of the exports as well. And 10,000 Villages is a place that we have here in America that might have or stock Kazuri beads.
Oh yeah, the whole thing about water and plastic is just so important. That's really wonderful that came out so clearly. I saw I thought I shared it on Facebook within the last year. Somebody invented a way in Africa, invented a way to gather water from the atmosphere using solar. I wish I could find it now. I think I shared it up. It seems like it was the last year, but we lost 2 years, so maybe it was 2 years.
True.
Right.
Very true. I made that comment earlier today. In fact,
Oh, did you?
was it last year? No, 2 years ago.
No, it was like,
Yeah, that's a
it
good
wasn't
one.
12 months. It wasn't 2 months. It was 14 months. Yeah.
Yeah. No, solar is very, very big in Kenya. Pretty much everyone has it. Even if it's only this tiny itty bitty little panel that really just
Yeah.
turns your one light bulb on and off because that's the only thing you have electricity for.
Yeah.
Still, being on the equator, sun is a valuable resource. of
Yeah.
renewable
Yeah.
energy. So solar is. It was really cool to see solar panels everywhere. It's like, America, come on, what are we doing? But we'll get there.
So your love of giraffes reminded me of something. Have you ever been to Cafe Latte in Norfolk?
No, I haven't.
Well, their theme is giraffes.
Oh, I definitely
I
need to go
posted a
there.
couple of photos on Instagram. It's one of my favorite cafe down there, and they just have all kinds of little giraffes all over the place,
Yay! I admire giraffes. They're definitely
and
my
big ones and little ones. It's just I don't know where they get them all.
well, who knows? I'll have to go check it out.
Yeah, please check it out. You'll
Yeah,
love it.
thanks for sharing that. I definitely will. Well, thank
All
you
righty.
for coming. I